stablecoins will become the dominant form of money at some point in 2027 in the United States. I think it's going to happen really, really fast. We think this might be one of the most powerful market moments that crypto has ever had, because we have the combination of a potential rate cutting cycle and a regulatory cycle. So the idea that two possibly powerful drivers for crypto price performance could both be hitting at the same time in Q3 and Q4 of 2025. That is just something we've never seen before. We have seen moments where rates have been, have been a driver of crypto performance, Bitcoin in particular. We have seen moments when regulatory progress was accelerating that helped crypto on the margin. But what looks like we're heading into right now with the FOMC meeting on September 16th and clarity in the Senate right now, we have two powerful drivers, potential drivers for crypto performance as we head into year end. And of course, we head into October, which is known in the crypto world as Uptober, because this, at least in the last 10 years, it has been the single best month for Bitcoin, where performance has been up on the order of 22% on average.
It always amazes me with crypto how things are quite predictable, because we have, at least with Bitcoin, the halving cycles, and we're able to, analyze lots of on-chain data and so on and so forth. And then something just at the moment when we know we're heading towards a blow-off top, at least historically, those two kind of events happen at the same time.
Investors, in general, are long-term focused, right? And as crypto assets come into the regulatory mainstream and really get meaningful use, it will become the case, we think, that investors are going to want to have long-term allocations to these assets. And when you make long-term allocations to these assets, you want to have those assets also deployed. And in general, most investors don't want to touch digital assets, and they certainly don't want to deploy those assets to seek extra yield or returns. So there is a case to be made that digital asset treasuries, properly constructed and operated, do serve an unmet need today, because ETFs can't really do much with the assets that are held in those trusts. Digital asset treasuries can be more active with the assets that they hold on behalf of their equity shareholders. So I think there's a service that the DATs can potentially serve. Do we need all of these? Probably not. But the market will sort itself out. It always does.
Yeah, of course. Before talking about ReserveOne more specifically, I have to ask, though, the, let's say, essence of Bitcoin is decentralization. Are we at risk, and I'm not specifically talking about that, but also about ETFs and governments buying into, and creating their own strategic Bitcoin reserves, for example. Is this kind of going the other way of this decentralization we'd be meaning to achieve, in a similar way as we've seen with the internet, which was also meant to be this kind of peer-to-peer, communication technology that at the end of the day has been dominated by 10 or so players in the world? Is that a risk?
So I think one of the best parts of the Clarity Act is this element where it's actually seeking to avoid this issue, right? So what I mean by that specifically is that at least the House version has a provision in it that says that a mature blockchain cannot have more than 20% of its token owned by a single entity, right? And
20% still a lot, though.
Yeah, no, I concur. But if you're putting a constraint on in that way, and not everyone agrees with this view, by the way, but what I do like is that even the legislation is saying that they want to create a world of decentralized digital assets, not a world of centralized digital assets. Now, the reality is that there's many forces in an economy that basically drive centralization, right? When things are centralized, they tend to be faster, they tend to be cheaper, but they're easier to interrupt, right? They're easier to censor. And so I think it is definitely something that needs to be watched, and I think that the market will probably demand, that the market players find ways to avoid centralization, because then that would undermine the purpose of these assets. And look, it's definitely a risk, but I think one of the good things about Bitcoin in particular is even if you have centralized ownership of the asset in some ways, like, it's really about hash, right? It's really about the miners, and it's so far it's been very difficult to at this scale to get any real centralization there. The G7, the biggest six economies, have too much debt, not enough growth, and not enough fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
Bitcoin could act as a brake and actually pull these countries back from the brink, and that's if Bitcoin could cause them to become more sustainable in how they finance themselves, how to operate, I think that's just really good. That drives financial stability, and that could be really positive. Now, separately, things like Ethereum and Solana are likely to drive this massive adoption of stablecoins. And I think the upgrading of money is going to be one of the biggest themes that we see in financial services over the next 3 years. And it will likely drive better financial inclusion, which is sorely needed in many economies. It will probably drive costs down, right? It will drive access up. It will be, I think, just a very big positive for consumers in general, especially with those that have not as much. I think one of the things that we could see with crypto is that maybe next year becomes not political in the US. And if we can make this asset class not political because it can actually solve important problems that we have in our economy, then I think all these assets are going to have a whole new set of buyers. Because right now, especially in the US, it seems like it's too political, and it shouldn't really be.
Yeah. Now, we're obviously a Canadian media, Blockchain North, as you know. You guys are an American company. What's the opportunity the United States, and perhaps in particular Donald Trump, has seen in crypto that others, should really see? My concern comes from Canada, where, our politicians don't talk about crypto or blockchain, don't even use these words, and I worry that we get left behind. So I guess what would you say to Canadians in terms of, the opportunity they may be missing out on?
Look, America has always stood for innovation and for personal freedom, right? And if you think about crypto, it is really an industry that is all about innovation and freedom. And so why should Canada care? Look, I think Canada should care because it's an incredible country that has its own strong economy, but the way that money and assets have been made and sent around is archaic, right? And one big risk to any economy is if they miss a big upgrade cycle. So if we're about to go through a big upgrade cycle in the US, where we're going to upgrade our money, we're going to upgrade how we make and send assets, right, tokenization, Canada should care because they've got a currency, they've got assets, they've got a capital markets, and they want to stay current with what, with kind of state of the art. And arguably, finance itself has been kind of stuck in the mud for quite some time. If you look at the speed at which the internet and AI is moving and how finance is really way, way behind, crypto is that upgrade cycle.
What's your craziest prediction for crypto? What's something that you believe that others maybe don't see in 20 seconds or less?
I think that stablecoins will become the dominant form of money at some point in 2027 in the United States. I think it's going to happen really, really fast because everyone can see how a fully reserved dollar that moves at the speed of the internet is a better thing. Well, sorry, when they see it, I think they're going to see it really quickly. And I think, we've seen adoption cycles in OpenAI for, ChatGPT. I think we're about to see a similar adoption cycle for stablecoin that could surprise the entire world. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And allow me to thank you as well for your support of our coverage of Boston Blockchain Week, where we're shooting this interview right now. If you haven't checked it out, ReserveOne.com. You'll find it online. And of course, check out Boston Blockchain Week. Thanks again.
Thank you.